Welcome back to Papé Toolkit. Today we're going to go over a unique piece of equipment, this Ego Z6 52-inch zero-turn mower. Let's get started. Every once in a while, a unique piece of equipment comes into our inventory. This is one of those unique pieces. This zero-turn mower is, quite frankly, the first electric mower that I've ever mowed my yard with. And so I'm really excited that I'm going to have something to compare the John Deere zero-turn to. But that's not about the John Deere today. Today we're about this Ego. And so some of the features that I really have come to like and appreciate when I was mowing with my this piece of equipment is, first off, it's darn near silent when you're just driving around your property. All you can hear is a little bit of whine from the electric drive, direct drive motors that are in each one of the wheels. And then when I flip on the blades on this particular one, all it sounds like is kind of a high-powered backpack blower. So that's a very appealing thing for a customer. Not to mention that I'm using 6 56-volt batteries to power this machine. So the Ego claims up to 4 acres of runtime. I'm not exactly sure how that kind of pans out. I will share that I mowed my front, my backyard, and a little bit portion of my field, and I've got about half of the battery life left in it on the display. So with my property in particular, I could probably mow the majority of the things that I finish cut mow in one battery life. And I think that that's super appealing, right? You hear it all the time about electric vehicles and range anxiety. I don't think I would have range anxiety on this particular machine. Not to mention these batteries are easily swappable out. They swap out very easily. And then the charging time that they claim, which I haven't done yet, but they claim about 4 hours of charging time to full battery life. And so those really aren't too crazy of statistics. Right in front of me, I've got a power meter that shows me how much power I've got in just this like convenient ring that's right in front of me. So I've got a good visual of that. And then if I want a little bit more information, I have a full digital cluster over here that's got great buttons that look like they're very well waterproofed. I'm not so sure about this screen not getting scratched up over time, but I think, time will tell on that. But it's got great layout, and it's got, a pretty intuitive display. It didn't take me that long to get to know it, and I think I can navigate my way, even at my old age, through it pretty well. So that's pretty nice. Electronic PTO engagement, I wouldn't expect anything other than that on this. Electronic push button, you just got to hold it in there for a few seconds and then it starts up. A nice key that it feels like it's a little bit magnetic, just plugs right in there. It's got a nice place for my smartphone, so I can just hook it into the side, have it with me where I'm going. The controls are just the same as I would get in any other machine. I've got adjustability points on it as well. It's got an easy-to-use deck. I don't think it's as spring-loaded as some of the other machines that I've felt that I'm used to, but it's not too hard to lift up and down. 10-gauge steel deck, so that's a pretty decent, robust deck. 52 inches on this machine. Of note, it's got a couple of washout ports, one on this side and one on this side. That's nice to have 2 washout ports as opposed to the one I'm used to. The deck goes all the way down to 1.5 inches and then all the way up to 4.5 inches. So you're getting a pretty decent height all the way up, which is nice as well. Let's talk about the seat. So the seat adjustment, really easy to adjust with just this dial-in suspension seat. And that's kind of industry, like that's very similar to the rest of the industry when it comes to suspension seats. It's those dials. So that was very intuitive. I've got an easy to reach lever to move the seat forward and aft, which is nice. Got armrests. This seat is a nice, decent high back seat. The materials feel nice, plush, but they also feel pretty rugged, and it looks like it's going to last over time. So really impressed. On this side, got a cup holder. Got to have a cup holder on these machines. And then I've got a magnetic clasp on the top of this. Continuing on the back side of the machine, this is where I plug in my charging port, spring loaded. So it looks like it's gonna cover up a little bit on the flimsy side, but I think it's gonna be protected. I always worry about those things because I got a lot of branches and overhangs around my property, and so things take a beating out here in the country. On the battery pack is really interesting. So it's got a nice gas strut on the back. It's got this nice cover to cover up all the batteries. I can pull these batteries out just by pushing a button. And of course, you know, the Ego ecosystem, you can put these batteries into multiple different tools. You know, 12 amp hours of the size of these batteries, pretty significant. Each one of them has that same dial that I'm familiar with in the front that shows the power level on them. That's really neat. I mean, it's just great technology, easy to use, very intuitive. And then I've got a tow hitch on the back. So if I'm gonna pull a trailer or anything like that, it's got that same function that I'm used to as well. So let's talk about my initial impressions of this machine now that I've used it a bit. I will share that for the most part, I'm really impressed. It does a really nice job. The cut quality is, I would say, very, very reasonable for what this machine is supposed to do. Did a really nice job of creating lines. I'm gonna be a little harsh. I'm gonna be a little critical in that I've been driving conventional hydraulic ran equipment for most of my life, and it just seems to be a little less twitchy, maybe a little bit more in control. But I will say that, you know, if this was my machine and I was using it on a consistent basis, I don't think I would have any issues getting used to that twitchiness. Again, it's one of those things where I would assume that in an electric vehicle, that power and that torque, that instantaneous mode is going to play quite the bit of a factor, especially when you first own the product. But you'll get used to it just like anything, and I think it will do a great job. I would just say, I'm gonna be super critical and say that it's really hard to keep a straight line in this when compared to some of the other mowers and zero turns that I've been on. But I gotta say, it is awesome to be able to just turn the blades on and it sounds like a blower. And it does a great job of cutting, and I'm not disturbing my neighbors, and I'm not using fuel in the conventional way. I'm just impressed. You know, this thing has independent engines for each one of the blades. It's got an independent drive motor for each one of the gear drives in here. So it's really easy to use. And then my digital layout on the right-hand side is great. It's got a lot of telemetry. I have a lot of control. I have 3 different functions for the actual control of the machine. So it's got control, standard, and sport, depending on how fast or how agile I want to be with the machine. It's got multiple different settings for how fast I want to go on it. A matter of fact, and it's got 4 different settings for blade speed. So it's got a lot of control features that quite honestly, I'm not used to. And I think that's a sign of our times. We have just really good control over a machine like this, and it will give us the result we want if we get it dialed in and we use it a lot of times. And so it's really hard for me when I'm doing these reviews and I'm taking these machines home and I'm trying them out to actually give an accurate picture, but I can see that I would love to have this machine because of all the different things I can control. I've got great visibility all the way around it. It's relatively comfortable. I've been in more comfortable machines, but it's got a suspension seat. I can move the seat forward and aft. It comes with armrests. The controls are really easy to use and reach. They're fairly ergonomic. So for the most part, I really like this machine. I'm excited to see where this kind of technology is going to take us. Just to sum it up, I think I could see myself owning one of these. Thanks for joining us on Papé Machinery Toolkit. Hi, my name is Jason Hughes. I'm a territory manager out of Eugene, Oregon. I'm also a large property owner and own a lot of the equipment that you see featured in these videos. I hope you find this content helpful. If you have any questions, please comment below.